My name is Rebecca Farrar, and alias Wild Witch of the West, and I'm an archetypal astrologer and writer. It's probably one of the weirdest jobs. I've had really weird jobs, but I think being an astrologer is probably the weirdest. I mean, I was like a speed dating hostess. I was a yoga instructor. I was a TV reporter, but being an astrologer is perhaps the most bizarre thing I've ever done. And the reason being is that it's this very intimate thing where you're looking at the moment someone was born, and you're looking at this chart and you're trying to understand, well, how does this moment determine what this person might be experiencing right now? And so it's this really beautiful way of connecting as above and so within. Astrology and astronomy they used to be the same science. They started around, early times of the Greeks, when philosophy, or the discourse of what was real and what was the human experience, the first science was based on, well, what is real is what we can see in the sky, and what is real is what we can see here. And then it started to expand, and so it was, well, what is the lining up of objects? And then what does it mean when something lines up? And so those two sciences used to actually be the same. And then around the Enlightenment period, or around the Middle Ages, people's minds started to think, well, either this is true or that's true. And so there became this, what we call like a Cartesian split of consciousness. And when that happened, these two sciences that one seemed more logical, the other one seemed more mystical, became split, whereas before the mystical and the logical thinking were not so separate. Well, what drew me to astrology was initially, I actually thought astrology was really stupid for most of my life. I just thought it was very woo-woo. I was very scientific-minded, very logical, having the same split, thinking that I couldn't be logical and mystical at the same time. And about 10 years ago, I joined a grad school programs to study philosophy and get my master's in philosophy. And the first day, I remember this man saying, there are two types of people in this philosophy program. One, people who are into astrology, and two, the people who will be into astrology. And I thought it was really stupid because I didn't like astrology, so I obviously was not going to change my mind. But what I started to notice was that there were these experiences where I had this professor, and he basically tracked all these major historical moments and found that the same planets were doing the same thing. So every major financial collapse, the same planets doing the same thing. Every time there was a war, similar planets doing the same thing. And so it was this way of tracking patterns in history that made me understand, well, why wouldn't I think that the planets were doing something to me as well as the collective? Well, so my day-to-day is it's very different from when I worked in marketing for about 14 years. So I don't go to an office, I work from home, and I see clients from home, which is also really sweet. I really enjoy having people come to my house, and we're talking about really intimate things, so it would make sense to me that we would be in a space that isn't an office, or that people go to for one purpose and that's it. It's also fun. I have my cat roaming around during sessions. I have a client, they talk about what's going on for them, what they're concerned about, how they're feeling, and then I look for patterns and notice where that's shifting or how to find what's off and make it more a part of the whole. People ask me a lot about the importance of zodiacs in astrology, because people get so attached to their sun sign. I mean, so attached to the sun, which makes sense. It's the sense of self, it's an identity. But a huge aspect that I'm interested in astrology is not identifying with just the sun sign, because to me, the moon, when you're born, also is of equal, if not more, significance. The planets touching your sun and moon, to me, are even more important than the zodiac signs themselves. So thinking about the chart, the zodiac is interesting, but I sometimes use this kind of silly metaphor. It's like a soup, where the zodiac is the broth, and the planets are all the flavors. And so it's the planets that actually give the flavoring, but it's the zodiac that gives us the base. It's like every time I say it to a client, I really cringe and so I have a soup metaphor, but it works, so I'm just gonna keep doing it. So my chart, in the astrology I practice, I don't say what's my sun sign, I say what the planets are with my sun and my moon. So most people say, okay, rising sun and moon. Well, I'm a Cancer rising, I'm a Taurus sun, and I'm an Aries moon. But to go more in depth, it would be, well, I'm a sun opposite Uranus, trine Mars, conjunct Chiron, and then my moon is conjunct Venus, opposite Mars, Pluto, Jupiter, trine Neptune, square Mars. So that would be the appropriate way to answer what someone's chart looks like. So I think the takeaway would be, don't identify with your sun sign. Know, if you really want to know yourself as a cosmic being, the whole chart is the big picture. It's not just this one little tiny